This is the ASDIII controller from Clausing that comes on all the CSG grinders. Simply to start up the machine, pull up on the emergency stop. We'll light up the buttons. The screen will come up for me. In starting the training, these three buttons here are very self-explanatory. I have the spindle on, the hydraulic on, and I have the coolant on. The next button's up. In this section here, all pertain solely to the chuck control itself. I have chucking, chuck off, and demag. Above there is the chuck power, the amount of pull I want to put on the machine. Above there is the amount of demag I want to take out of the part itself. The other thing to note is the hydraulic. We have a hydraulic symbol here. That hydraulic symbol there means that I have to have the controller on in order to start the hydraulics at any time. There are two of those interlocks. If one of them is missed, we will not be able to start the machine. Number one, a part has to be chucked on. Number two, the hydraulic speed control valve has to be set at 0. If that's off from, if that has any speed in it at all, you will not be able to start it. So that has to be back to 0. That takes care of this area. Over here we went through the emergency stop. This is my cycle stop button. This is my cycle start button. This is my head down, my head up, or spindle down and spindle up. This is my Z in and my Z out button. The center button here is my modes button. In the center is my Y0, which is my setup mode. Anything to the left are all plunge modes. So I have a plunge mode that basically is going to go back and forth, and all I can do is bring the head down at that point or up. I have a plunge mode in automatic that will come across, come down and grind, go back, come across, come down and grind. And then my last mode, it will descend on both sides of the material. So it'll come down, grind, go across, come down, grind back again, continue that until I get to my depth set. On the left-hand side is my conventional grinding, what most everybody's used to. That would be for running in manual, would be my first step over. In there, I can run the table in and out with my Z-axis. I can run the spindle up and down. Also run the hydraulic back and forth. In my next mode over is more of what everybody's used to. That's your jump over or your skip over grinding, and where I can set it for the amount that I want to take off per pass. I can set in a depth. I can set it for how much I want to move over each time, and then also tell it how much to take off and then how much I want it to retract or stay at the bottom after I'm finished with my grind. The next automatic step over is the zigzag grind, and with that grind the table will continue moving in and out. I can set the speed on that. The table always goes back and forth with hydraulics, but the movement in and out is zigging and zagging. The reason for that is if I'm doing any steel rule dies or any knives, or also the jewelers use that because I don't have any grinds going the same way and it'll come right off with a mirror finish. As you notice, as I'm turning through, these lights are lighting. You can only use a light or a button when it's lit. It will not do anything if it's not lit. Which would mean if I was in the plunge mode, I could never run the table in and out. The lights will never allow me to do that because I just simply want to do a plunge. Okay. These, again, we've been through these. They're pretty self-explanatory. Head down, head up, table in, table out. You see this one blinking in and out. That's my set for my table motion in and out. So the operation on that would be, I would rapid the table in, and I can bring the speed up on that simply by adjusting the potentiometer right here. I get wrapped the table in, and once I clear my workpiece from the front, I hit the enter, then I run the table out. Once I clear my workpiece from the rear, I hit the enter. Now the table's only going to move that amount, just enough to clear the workpiece itself. As far as the adjustment for the table back and forth, I have a couple of adjustments here. They're proximity switches, and they're adjusted right in here. I have two potentiometers over here. Two potentiometers over here. One is for my rough grind, the other is for my fine grind. I also have one other switch that I can deal with. It's my handle switch. By double clicking that one, it will come on, and then I can use this as my spindle adjustment. Just like a hand wheel down below. Take a break. Okay. The next things I want to go through, by touching the screen, it'll come up, and I basically have two different screens that I have to deal with here. I've got, let's see, I've got a page here that says, what do I want to do? And the next page over, my home page, says, how am I going to do it? Over in my what do I want to do page, basically along this side it explains to me that my number 5 is my starting point. That'll always be my zero, my Y0 point. Okay. The next one down that or the next one over that I deal with is the number 1. That's my targeted point. That's how much I want to take off from it. So I would put in the value I was looking to grind off, and when it got to that point, the machine's going to shut down. The next value that I would put in is in number 3, and I can choose to use these or not use these, is a finish grind. So I can set number 1 in here to take 5/10 off per pass until I get within 4/1000 of my finish, and then the machine, if I put 4,000 here, would automatically shift over and start taking a lesser value that I put in. Like I could put a half thou or a half tenth or 3/10, whatever I wanted to put in at that point. I'll show you how to do that soon. The number 4 is the spark out, intermittent spark outs. And how that is used is there's a value in there that you can put in. If you were, say, taking 15 thousandths off, you could put 5 thousandths in there. When it got to the 5 thousandths, I could take up to 9 spark outs and then go back into my program, take another 5 thousandths, and then it would go back into or it would make the 9 spark outs and then go back into my program again. But what that does is take the spindle pressure off. Any buildup that I've gotten into the machine, it would take that right off, and it also helps with the accuracy of the machine itself, because I'm not having to deal with all that buildup. The number 2 on here is after, if you look at it, it's a rise above point. After I get done with my grind, how much above my last zero would I like for it to go? So if I had a Y0 at a 1/2 inch above, I could go 100 thousandths above that. It would give me plenty of space to get my part out, get the next part in, and then bring the head down for the next grind. Okay, the next page over is my home page. On my home page this is how I'm going to do it. The other was what do I want to do. This one is how am I going to do it. Okay, simply by wrapping down the head. Once I get there, I can hit the Y0. Now I know that's my 0 point. If I'm manually running the machine, I can run back and forth. I can bring the head down. I can see how much I'm taking off. So I also have a Z point in here, which is in and out. I can hit that, and I can set, if I was grinding up to an edge, I could see when I got close to that edge. I knew where my 0 had to be, or how wide I was going to grind something. Okay. The next is my settings for my rough grind. Whenever you see the saw teeth like that with a 1, that's all rough grind setting. So if I push in there, it'll come up. I basically fill in how much I want to take off per pass. I can add those together and exit out of there, and it will show over here then the amount that I want to take off as a rough. When the machine gets to the fine grind, it will automatically switch over, and when I hit there, that's my fine grind mode. If you notice, the figures are all real slow or real small in there because we want to now take a fine grind. I can just push that, it'll fill in there, exit out, and I'm there. That's how you put in a value into there. The next one over relates to my number 4. If I push that, that's how many spark outs I want it to do in my intermittent. So when I talked about the 15 thousandths, if it came down to 5 thousandths, I could put in 3, I could put in 2, whatever I wanted to put in. I would enter them in, and then that would be the amount of times that it would spark out before it went back into the program itself. On my finished grind, if I come over, this is the amount when I totally finish the job out, how many spark outs I want it to do. So when it gets right at the bottom, I can put up to 9 spark outs. If I want to change it, I would change it simply like that. Hit the enter. And it would change for me. The other switches that I have here is I can shut off my Z, so the table was locked moving in and out. If I had something to do, some type of measuring or something to do in there, it could not get knocked or moved for me. The other is I can choose with this button here if I want to keep the spindle at the bottom after the grind and park off from the workpiece, or if I want it to elevate up and go above the Z at a figure that we put in, or the 0 at a figure we put in earlier. The only other settings, I do have a message setting here. If I have an alarm or anything that comes up along the screen here, I can come in here and check the message, and it will tell me what I did wrong, and then I go and correct that and then continue on with my program. I also have a screen that I have all my IOs, and this is for troubleshooting. If you have a problem, you might call the factory and they might have you come in here to see what's turned on and what's not turned on to help us troubleshoot any issues like that. The last screen is a setting, and basically this one here, I can come in, I can adjust the screen brightness, I can put in a password, I can check in here the amount of time it took to grind a job. I can zero that out in between and tell how long that takes to do a job. So we go back to my home. Okay, if I was setting up to do a job at this point, I would have to get my part on there, and I could, at this point, with the part locked on and this to 0, I can then start up my hydraulics. So that's started. I can start up my spindle at that point and my coolant, which I don't need right now. I move to the table. I can adjust my longitude right here, just right on the fly if I want to. Okay. Because we went out of program and back into program, we now have to set the in and out, and it's good we can see that again. So we run the table back. We've cleared the part, hit the enter, run the table out. We cleared the part, get it there. Okay. Here, if I want to change that and have a target point of something different, push it, up it comes. Let's go to minus 5. Enter. Oh, there. Here, it showed it to you. I asked it to do too much, more than what it's able to do. Clear that out. change it right in here for me. Okay. I can go down through, fill in all the rest of these of what I want to change simply by pushing them and hitting the enter. And fill in the amounts here. From there, we come over to my home screen, watching what's going on. I will wrap it down until I'm just above the piece. I'm getting close to my work piece. Slow down. You can see it walking in thousands. The jog button, each push is 50 millionths. Now, at this point, I've got a little spark. I can zero it out and go into my automatic, hit my automatic button. At this point, I also could go out of program. If I was going to lunch, I could shut the hydraulic down, start the hydraulic back up, go back into program, and I'll pick back up again there. At this point, the machine's going to run down to the 0 point. It's either going to shut off at the bottom, or if I tell it to, it'll walk back up, and you'll be finished. If there's any further questions, feel free to call Clausing Industrial.